Shabbat Shalom. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes, and you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the guy or gal who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to not go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. Does this sound familiar? If you've never heard this before, you probably would be able to guess that it was written by Dr. Seuss from his book entitled, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Now, for whatever reason, this book somehow became the go-to text for all graduation ceremonies in the 90s and early 2000s. I have so many memories of it being read on the last day of school. And while it's quite whimsical and happy, it's Dr. Seuss after all, it's actually quite telling, and oftentimes it's very true to life. Not only does this book depict the excitement of the next chapters in one's life, it also encapsulates the pitfalls and tragedies that can all too often occur when we least expect it. I was reading this book to my boys the other night, and I ran across this part. Quote, I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-up and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, but you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come up from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. I don't know about you, but there have been parts of my life where I have been in a slump. I told you I was reading this part to our boys the other night, and I had to have my wife come in and finish the book. It was too real. I know I'm not the only one who has ever felt like they've been left behind or left out. And I'll tell you, friends, unslumping yourself is not easily done. Our Torah portion for this week, Lecha, which translates to something like go for yourself. This parsha reminds me a lot of Oh, the Places You'll Go. Genesis chapter 12 starts off with God telling Abraham, or Abram, as he's known in this portion, to leave his native land and to go to a new place, a new land that God will show him. In a sense, it's almost like Abraham has graduated high school at 75 years old, and he's finally leaving home for the first time. And much like Oh, the Places You'll Go, Abraham's journey starts out optimistic, but soon he too finds himself in an unpleasant slump. Not only is there famine, but the Torah tells us there are also enemies living in the land at the time. So to avoid them, Abraham and his crew, they pivot down to Mitzrayim. They go to Egypt. But there, they encounter another problem. Abraham's wife, Sarah, and she's known as Sarai in this particular part of the story, we're told that she's exceedingly beautiful, and Abraham realizes that if the Egyptians see this beautiful married woman, they'll simply kill him off and take her for themselves. So he comes up with an idea that would not appear in a Dr. Seuss book. He tells the Egyptians that Sarah is in fact his sister. Of course, Pharaoh takes the bait and wants Sarah for himself. But then God punishes Pharaoh for doing this, so he lets them go. And that's when Abraham and company move to Canaan, and they wait. What do they wait for, the Torah tells us? Well, they wait for a baby. You see, friends, this entire time, God has been promising Abraham and Sarah that they will have offspring that are, quote, more numerous than stars in the sky. But so far, they haven't conceived. So they wait in Canaan and Canaan for 10 years. And as we know from Dr. Seuss, there's nothing worse than the waiting place. Quote, you can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long wiggled roads at breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, for the most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, waiting around for a yes or a no. Everyone is waiting for their hair to grow. I mean, not me. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, waiting for a wind to fly a kite, waiting around for Friday nights, waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, a string of pearls, a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. Well, Sarah had had enough of this waiting. So towards the end of the Parsha, she convinces Abraham to consort with her servant Hagar. I don't know how much convincing she had to do with him, but anyway. Hagar, of course, becomes pregnant with Ishmael, who Abraham later abandons in the desert. History will teach us that Abraham, of course, becomes the patriarch of 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The Muslims claim to be descended from Ishmael, who they assert would be the one that Abraham tries to sacrifice on the altar. They consider Ishmael the first Arab, and in their version of the Akedah, Abraham is about to sacrifice Ishmael. What is all of this supposed to teach us? I doubt many of us have tried to pass out our spouses off as our siblings. I doubt many of us have journeyed through Canaan. What are we supposed to learn from this? Well, I think we can get a clue from a verse that begins our Parsha. God says, quote, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse the one who curses you. And all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. Dear friends, I think all of us are still being blessed by Avraham because we're still reading his story. We read about his triumphs, his failures, his faults, his desires, and when we do, we see a little bit of ourselves in him. His story, like Dr. Seuss, is timeless because it mirrors the human experience. I feel like we've probably all had a Lecha moment where we felt like God was telling us to go to a new place or open a new door. And we've all probably been in a slump, and I know we've all been in the waiting place. But just like God was with Avraham in his most turbulent moments, so too is God with us in ours. So, be your name Buxbaum or Bixie or Bray, or Mordecai, Ali, Van Allen, O'Shea, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Shabbat Shalom.